Hello, this is Christina Hobbs, and for my TV series Triptych, I selected the series The Rings of Power. The main imagery that I landed on was the 3 rings of power that were introduced in season 1. Since there's 3 of them and they're very impactful, I felt like it was the perfect thing to use for a triptych. In my billboards, I used layers to create the images by having a dark blue as the background layer, a map as the middle layer, and then the top layers are the text and the ring images themselves. I used transparency in the map layer by setting it to 25% opacity. This allows it to create a more subtle texture and cohesiveness across all 3 panels without distracting from the white text or the ring image. I used framing by having the large ring go off the edges of the composition to create a sense of allure for the viewer to wonder what else is happening outside the edges of the composition. I also arranged my text and ring in a sort of circular pattern to move the viewer's eyes down the side with the main title text and then around the bottom to the call to action, and then their eyes will follow the circle of the ring back up to the top with the Prime Video location of the streaming. I treated the triptych as one large composition rather than 3 separate parts. The overlapping rings across the panels give it a sense of cohesion when displayed together. Because the middle panel is more crowded with all 3 elements of rings included, I kept the large title text to the left and right panels to balance it out and have the smaller call to action and Prime Video text on the middle panel. I also included the Lord of the Rings on the bottom left panel. This is something that was included on the original season 1 posters, but I chose to leave off my billboards. The primary users for my poster is somebody like Brink, who is very familiar with Lord of the Rings and is really excited for the Rings of Power series. A secondary user is someone like Carter, who is not familiar with Lord of the Rings, but is into fantasy and is looking for a new TV series to watch. A hidden user would be Carrie. She has a Prime Video subscription and likes to watch TV with her teenagers, but does not have any familiarity with the Rings of Power. When comparing my triptych poster and billboard poster to other movie and TV series, I really wanted to focus on the framing of having the rings going off the edges of the composition, as well as imagery, having a very bold and impactful main image with high contrast text and not a lot of other elements to distract from that. On my thumbnails, you can tell that I really played around with trying to find the best composition for the rings. It was quite a challenge since they are very large round elements, and trying to fit the text in with those was not easy. Eventually, I figured out that by putting the text vertically, it tends to fit better in the composition, and it reminds me of the spine of the books for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Here's some inspiration from my mood board. The main typeface that I used is Vendetta OT. I like it because it looks almost handmade, and with the serifs, I feel like it fits right into the fantasy genre. Here's my rationale. Pause to read this slide. And on my final slide, you'll find the citations for the images that I used. Thank you so much for your time, and please reach out with any questions.